So, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Rachel for Real. We're in that funny time of year, Twixmas. Christmas has been and gone. I hope you've had a lovely time at Christmas, whatever you got up to, and that it was peaceful and pleasant. We're now in that bit just before New Year, and it's a good time to rest and relax and reflect. So today's video is about reflection, and I'm reflecting on my low spend in 2025. We've only got a few days till the end of the year, and then it will be 2026, time to revise the plan and move on from where I am now. So how did my 2025 low spend year go? What went well? What needs improvement? And what are my plans for 2026? I will make another video at the beginning of January about my plans for 2026, but I'll just give you a little snippet now so that you know the progression of my low spend practice, because it is practice. It doesn't come naturally, and we have to learn as we go and tweak things and improve things depending on how successful or unsuccessful we are as we go through the year. So what went well? I think the main thing I've come away with after a year of doing the low spend is that my mindset has changed. I do think more before I purchase things than I used to. I wouldn't say that I don't impulse spend, I do, and you know, that's something to work on. However, I've caught myself multiple times during the year thinking, no, it's very nice, but I don't need it, or I like that, but I've got something that I can use at home which will serve the same purpose. So I've got much better at putting thought process into whether I need to make the purchase or not. Hasn't always been successful, but a lot more successful than previous years. So that's a win. I'm pleased with that. And I think that awareness has taken me quite a long time, but now that I have it, I can use it to make next year much, much better. I think if we're not aware of our stumbling blocks, then we can't remove them, we can't change them, we can't see what they're based on. I know that a lot of my spending is emotional, and I spend when I'm bored and lonely. I also spend when I get hyper fixated on a new idea. I'm still waiting for my ADHD assessment, but I think that has quite a bit to contribute, maybe not everything, but quite a bit to contribute towards me being super focused on one topic. I have to know everything about it, I have to find out everything about it, I have to get everything for it, whether it's a hobby or whatever. That does lead to a lot of spending that maybe I don't need to do, or maybe I could do over a period of time to spread the cost and to see whether I'm actually enjoying the experience or the hobby or the book or whatever it is that I've bought. In the past, I've had a lot of projects that I haven't finished because of this. I kind of go 100% in, and then something else sparks something in my mind, and suddenly I'm fixated on that and I want to go and find out everything about that. It's the way my brain works. But at least now I'm aware of that, so I can put steps in place to pace myself a little bit better and to go into, say, a new hobby and only buy the basics to get me going. I can research stuff online, I can put stuff in a shopping basket, but I don't have to buy it. I don't have to act on every impulse. Also a win, so I'm pleased with that. What else have I noticed? It's very easy to drift back into old habits. So you start out, you're full of good intentions, you know, I'm going to nail this, it's going to be the best year ever, blah, 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 you know, usual New Year's resolutions kind of thing. And then, I don't know, it tapers down, doesn't it? You sort of you stop thinking about it. It's not in the forefront of your mind as much as it was at the beginning of the year, and you notice little bad habits creeping back in. So I think if you're going to do a low spend or a no spend, just bear that in mind and check in regularly with yourself just to see whether any of the habits that you're trying to lose are sneaking back in, because mentally we always go for the easiest option, don't we? And if it's something we've done multiple times, our little brain circuitry is already set up for it, you know, and it's straight to the buying or the impulse. And we have to be aware of that and kind of step in before it takes over. So reviews regularly, super important, otherwise things can slip very rapidly. What else? Just having a look at my notes, excuse me. I started a new hobby at the end of the year, so I bought a few things for that, which I've detailed in my November spending review. And I've also bought a few more things in December. I've been trying to buy second-hand, if you don't know, I'm trying to teach myself to knit. And I bought some second-hand yarn from charity shops so that I could practice my stitches and get that muscle memory and improve. Just to see whether I give up in a couple of weeks. I don't want to, I'm really enjoying the process. But also to keep costs down while I'm practicing. I don't want to spend a lot of money on yarn which I can't do justice to. I want to be at a point where I can knit well and produce a nice item before I go ahead and, you know, spend more money on nice yarn. So the charity shop yarn is fine. You know, it gives me time to practice. I don't get upset if it goes wrong because, you know, it's cost me £1 or £2. You know, it's not the end of the world. So that's fine. And for now, that's what I'm going to stick to. I bought quite a few balls of wool from charity shops. I can practice with that. I can make my swatches, get used to different stitches. Also learn how to fix mistakes, because boy oh boy, are there lots of those. And then if I'm still interested and I haven't jumped around onto the next latest thing, then I can buy nicer yarn to make nicer projects. So I mean, that's quite a learning thing as well, isn't it? Not diving in and buying the best straight away because you want to be, you know, this kind of knitter or have wonderful homemade garments and things like that. You know, I can't do that straight off the blocks. So practicing with cheap stuff until I get the skills under my belt seems to be a good way to go. What else have I learned? Oh yes, budget for fun money. Now, if you're on a low spend or a no spend, then it can rapidly become a bit gloomy and a bit depressing because you feel, well, you can feel deprived and that you're missing out on stuff. So definitely set aside a little bit of your budget for fun things that you don't feel that you have to justify. That's your pocket money, that's your spending money. It's yours to do what you want with. You don't have to justify what you buy with it or spend it on. And I think that gives you that little bit of wiggle room where you can treat yourself or buy things you want for projects that you want to complete without feeling that you're failing in your low spend or your no spend. I mean, the low spend, you set your own categories, and we'll go into that in January with the 2026 video. But if you're on a low spend, you also have to set your own categories, but there's less wiggle room there because you are trying to spend on the absolute basics. But I think a little bit of budget towards your fun, you know, doing things that give you pleasure is, well, it's crucial really, otherwise you will fail. You will revolt and go the opposite way. Or I know I will, you know, I'll have a hissy fit and I won't want to do it anymore. What needs improvement? Well, Sticking to a budget needs improvement. So I really need to nail down my categories in my low spend, what I'm allowed to buy, sort of green flag, amber, things to replace if they run out, and red flag, I'm not going to buy these this year. I will either borrow or do without or make use of something I've already got to serve the purpose. Had I done this again, then I would have been a lot more specific in my categories so that I knew a sort of broader view of what was in each category rather than just sort of a general umbrella, which when it came to the crunch wasn't detailed enough for me to make a conscious decision or to know, well, no, you're not supposed to be buying that. So yeah, better categories and more structure and sticking to a budget. Definitely they are the things that can be improved on. Yeah, another thing that came out of it, use what I've already got. I've got a lot of stuff in my flat. I've got too much stuff in my flat. I need to have a bit of a purge in the new year and get rid of some stuff, because if you live in a small space, it sort of encroaches much faster than if you live in a big house and you've got a garage and a loft and all that. So I can feel it sort of moving in and messing with my mind. So I need to have a tidy up and a bit of a reshuffle and a declutter in the new year. What else? Yeah, I think making use of free resources will help your low buy or no buy year go much better. It gets you out and about and it gives you things to do that aren't costing you money. So you're getting the pleasure and the experience of the activity without having to put your hand in your pocket and blow the budget. So I found out that there's two classes at my library and they're just drop-in session. And one is like a knitting and crochet group. You just turn up, sit down, do whatever you're doing and have a little chat to people. But I think that'd be a great way for me to get out of the flat, but also to ask people who are more experienced, what I'm doing wrong, or could they help me, or any suggestions. And it's social, doesn't cost any money. So I think I've started doing that in the new year. So have a look at what's available locally to you to do. It may not be crafting that you're interested in, but you might be able to find musical things to go to that don't cost any money. And that makes your life a bit richer, while not forking out money that A, you don't have, or B, you don't want to spend. And you can still have a lot of fun on a low budget. Oh, finishing projects. Yes, this is another thing. If I have already got the equipment or the gadget or whatever to start a project, then I need to finish the project. I'm a gold medal winner in not finishing things, because what I said, suddenly my mind goes on something else and I fixate on that and I forget about what I was doing. But I think in order to make a low buy successful, you have to work through the project and make use of the resources that you've already paid for. And not only does that make the money that you've already spent worthwhile, but you also get something at the end of it, and you've had an activity to do that hasn't cost you any more in the doing because you've already prepaid, and you get the whole thing then, don't you? Does that make sense? You get, you've invested upfront, and if you follow it right through to the end, then you get the activity, you get the thing at the end, you get the enjoyment of the process, and that money that you initially spent has given you a lot more value than if you start a project and then throw it in the back of a cupboard and never look at it again. Another thing. If I have already got the equipment or the gadget or whatever to start a project, then I need to finish the project. I'm a gold medal winner in not finishing things because what I said, you know, suddenly my mind goes on something else and I fixate on that and I forget about what I was doing. But I think in order to make a low buy successful, you have to, you know, work through the project and make use of the resources that you've already paid for. And not only does that make the money that you've already spent worthwhile, but you also get something at the end of it, and you've had an activity to do that hasn't cost you any more in the doing because you've already prepaid, and you get the whole thing then, don't you? Does that make sense? You get, you know, you've invested upfront, and if you follow it right through to the end, then you get the activity, you get the thing at the end, you get the enjoyment of the process, and that money that you initially spent has given you a lot more value than if you start a project and then throw it in the back of a cupboard and never look at it again. Guilty my lord. So that's basically what I've learned. I've learned that I'm not very good at it, and that 2025 was really a trial run. But I think my increased awareness and the fact that I can see my faults and what trips me up puts me in better stead to have another go in 2026. So that's what I'm aiming to do. I ummed and ahed about a no spend, but based on the results of my low spend, I think that's running before I can walk. So 2026 will be another low spend year, and I can only improve, can't I? Because I'm not working at the moment, so my income is whoop, I need it more than ever. So I'm going to read from my shelves, and I'm going to do the crafting projects I've already got, and I'm going to cook more with basic ingredients to keep my food costs down, and look around for free activities and things that I can occupy my time with that interest me but don't break the no spend rules that I will set up for myself at the beginning of January. So have you done a low spend or a low spend month, a year? Have you done a no spend? I'd love to hear how you got on with that. If you'd like to join me in 2026 to do a low spend with me, I would love your company, and we can support each other and be each other's cheerleaders, you know, swap ideas on what we're struggling with and maybe find solutions for each other of how we could improve those things. And as I said, at the beginning of January, I will make another video about my plan for my no spend 2026 with better detailed categories, sort of vision of how I want the year to pan out. Okay, have a lovely new year. Goodbye 2025, hello 2026. I hope you have a wonderful new year. See you next time. Bye.